She did not kill a deer last year with her bow, or the last year with her bow. We tried for 31 days, but we added up, I think this was 36 or 37 total sits without killing a deer with a bow until that one.
Tim and I are like, yeah, sounds like a typical fall.
Hold my beer.
I would cry if I added up the days.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get right into it today. You're Tim, I'm Matt. We have Mark Drury, the madman, the mad scientist, the founder, one of co-founders of Drury Outdoors, and the genius behind Deercast. Mr. Mark Drury, how's it going today?
I'm great, guys. Good to chat with you all. Hope you guys are doing good.
We are doing good. Well, you know what? I wish it was a little cooler. I mean, the cool fronts.
You're in shorts right now.
I'm in mossy oak shorts. But I mean, you guys have been absolute death up there on the whitetail population for what has been a really unseasonably warm start to the season. And I wanted to get into a little bit of that because you guys have killed a couple deer in Missouri and you killed a big giant old deer in Iowa. Grandma Lucy got a deer. Taylor got a deer. Of course, Wade and Coon Dog. So I kind of want to get into a little bit of all of that today, but most importantly, probably focus in on the deer that you shot in Iowa, which you thought could be around the 10.5-year mark, which is crazy to me. So let's start with that and some of the history there, or how you got to that age or how you come to know that deer. And that was the first time you had laid eyes on him in daylight.
Well, I saw him one other time on the morning of early November of 2022 with Perry.
Okay.
But I was just literally before we jumped on this podcast, I was going through pictures all the way back to 2020 of this deer. And based on what I'm seeing, I think he was 9.5 when I shot him, just estimating the age that I thought he was in 2020 and 21 and 22. So, I'd kind of, you don't expect a deer to get that age. And I literally lost track of his age. I just knew he was really old, and I didn't go back to find him until after I killed him. And now I think he's 9.5 if I had to lay a number on it. So,
which is ridiculously crazy to think about.
and he didn't appear to have gone downhill.
That was his best rack. Easily his best rack. He wore his best two racks at 8.5 and 9.5, if that were his age, fall of 24 and fall of 25.
Did you think about what would happen if you would have let him get to 20?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
No teeth.
We just never see full development of a rack because they just don't get that old, right? I mean, they just don't. And when they do, there's generally something from a health perspective that's bothering them. So he seemed to be in pretty decent shape, especially for the EHD we've had. I really did feel like he contracted EHD somewhere around 22 because he kind of stayed the same there for 2 or 3 years. And then he kind of popped out of it last year. And then this year he really popped out of it. And he was, easily the best he's ever been, and really frame and everything. I mean, just a giant deer, the kind you don't see very often with an inside spread that he had. He was 23 inches inside. So
that's
very, very rare. And he kind of flailed out as well. Long beams. One of them was 25. The other one was just shy of 25. So, and mass all the way out. He had over 19 inches of mass. So almost 20. So just a classic Iowa, big deer.
That's the kind of deer that you just wonder how they get through the woods.
Yeah.
Without constantly getting caught up on stuff.
Yeah. Like how an elk moves through or a moose or something like that. Like,
golly. Yeah.
Well, even have you guys found his sheds very often? I know, the location that he was is one that's close to where you're very familiar with. So did you find sheds for him in the previous years?
Pretty much every year. In fact, I did an interview when we did the interviews for the deer season 25, Matt, about, because we'd find him every spring, just how much money he probably raised for Catch a Dream because of that annual shed find of at least one side, if not both. So he's been probably our greatest contributor to Whitetails Unlimited Banquets and Catch a Dream.
That's pretty funny. So do you have last year still, or have you donated that one yet?
We had already donated them.
That's the only downfall of not being able to see kind of, hold them side to side to side, just see the progression, but obviously a very cool thing to see how much money they can raise.
No question. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we have all the photography and whatnot, and some great pictures of this guy. Because as you mentioned, we were very familiar with where he lived because it was right behind where I lived. I mean, this guy was literally right behind the house. I've since sold that house. Wade actually bought that house from me. They moved in this year around June the 1st. But through his whole life, I would get all these pictures right behind the house. We just could never see him. And admittedly, I didn't hunt there a ton because I had my attention on other target deer. But we did hunt this deer multiple times and just couldn't run into it.
Didn't Grandma Lucy see him and Tracy see him from the living room or something?
They did. They were sitting there during the rut. Mom was up, and he walked right through the yard above the pond and then out into where we normally get his picture over there, where the food plot is.
So funny to think about.
It's also funny to think about all the things that have happened.
Here he is. There's that picture they took that day.
Yeah. Like a small moose walking through the yard.
Yeah, he was a big boy last year too.
You think of all the world events that have happened since 2016 that deer has been around for. That's
Mark killed a bunch of deer in that time frame.
Yeah. He's biding his time.
That's right.
Golly.
Okay, so as you go through, obviously you've hunted the deer before. You guys have hunted the deer before. You know of the deer, but what changed about this year versus the years past? He was more or less a ghost a lot of the times, or nocturnal or whatever. What changed about this year, especially so early in the season, especially as warm as it has been so far this season?
I think more than anything, it seemed as if he was by far the king of the roost, and he knew it for sure because he started showing up during daylight in a multitude of different locations that are generally where I would see the best deer on the farm show up. A place we called Hot Corner. He was daylighting there, which is south of where he normally lived, about a half mile. And he started daylighting. Grant always talks about slaves to their stomach. And I think as deer age, you seldom get him to this age, he was definitely a slave to his stomach because there were nights where he'd be the only deer that would daylight. On the farm or out of all the cameras. He'd walk out 6:15, 6:30. So the other thing that I think happens with a deer of his age, they get a little bit lazier and the distance between feed and bed is much shorter. Therefore, I think he was bedding quite close to the food and therefore daylighting much earlier.
I mean, it makes sense if you think about it. The older you get, you're hungry and you don't want to go far to get it.
Whenever Beth talks about going out to eat or going out someplace, I'm like, are there going to be lines? Is the parking going to be bad? Like, these are things that I care about now.
I just want to eat quickly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It was an interesting turn of events to watch this guy that had typically been a night rider. I mean, we get rut pictures of him, the occasion daylight picture, but it's predominantly darker pictures. And this year, there he was, just walking like he's 3.5. I mean, it was kind of crazy. So, and the night I killed him, I mean, he popped out at the sun was still up. It was like 6:15, 6:20. He popped out. It was great.
Did you look at his teeth after you killed him?
I didn't, Tim, because we were at a confidence level of how old he was. I probably should have, just to see what an old buck's teeth look like, but I did not, no.
Yeah, I'm just curious if he even had teeth.
His dentures.
Right. He had partials.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. No, I didn't look at him.
So as I guess September, he starts kind of daylighting and towards the end of September there, or because obviously it was an Iowa deer, so you're waiting until October the 1st to get a crack at him. And it was only, what was it, October 3rd or 4th? What day was it you shot him?
What was the date? Hold on, let me look. I didn't know.
It would have been the 8th, right? It was the day before I shot mine, I think.
Yeah, it was Wednesday.
Yeah,
the 8th.
The 8th.
It was Wednesday the 8th. And he was daylighting actually during our Catch a Dream event as well, because I kind of had high hopes that he would he would come our way because he was daylighting just north of there during the catch a dream hunt, but he didn't show up. At night he did show up a couple times on that field, but he didn't show up the night we hunted with Will. So yeah, he was daylighting there in late September as well. I mean, not every single night, but enough that we had a reasonable confidence level that he was a target to go after.
And then what wind direction were you waiting? Were you waiting on a certain wind direction, or were you going to push it because of the blinds?
Well, interestingly enough, where he typically lived required a south because he was at the north end of this big block of timber that I own. But he kept coming out at Hot Corner, which requires a north. And in fact, the night before, he daylighted there. And the next night, we had a south, which dictated where we were going to sit. So that's what we did. We went up there and hunted him, because prior to that, I had been tied up with Mom, so we were not able to hunt him. But Mom notched her tag, and then that put me in a position where I could get back up there. So because of the south, we went to where he normally lived, and he walked out.
And how far away did you say that Hot Corner was from? You say half mile?
Yeah, from the north plot where we killed him to Hot Corner is right at a half mile. There's an 80 of timber in there.
Oh, so not a ridiculous distance for him to travel. I guess a deer of that age, maybe it is pretty uncommon though.
It's not, but I don't see it a lot. I've owned that farm for many, many years, and there's a big, giant ravine through the middle of the farm, and they just don't seem to go across it a lot. And it's probably not because of the ravine, but it does seem to be the divider. I get a lot of deer at Hot Corner, and I seldom get the same deer at the north plot there.
I wonder why he was moving around like that then, especially an older deer like that. You wouldn't think he would want to travel a tough, a ravine or so, you would think, to your point, food to bed, bed to food, as close as he could stay to it, he'd stay to it.
Yeah, he was doing it at night. He was hitting all the scrapes. So it was as if nobody's going to challenge him this year. He's such a big body deer. And I just think he was the king of the roost. We've had a lot of EHD, which took a lot of deer off the table, out of the landscape. Yeah. And he was without question the biggest deer on that farm.
Well, it's pretty interesting to see how a deer of that age will still move around a farm like that. You just wouldn't think it would happen.
Yeah. And you also wonder what his internal biology was like, having probably survived EHD, what that might do for a deer's longevity. Are there other antibodies that they maybe have as a result? Who knows?
And hopefully passed on.
Yeah.
Man, boy, he was sure healthy as a horse, though. Just a giant body, giant head, and seemed like he could live another 10 years. Of course, he wouldn't. That there was a neighbor to the north that was also hunting him. He and I had traded texts and pictures of the deer, and he was also hunting him. But after I killed him, he sent me a text congratulating me, and he said he didn't have any daylights of him. Said he was always dark on his farm too.
Oh. I bet it's a real love-hate relationship to be a neighbor of Mark or Terry Drury, because you're obviously managing and doing all the right things to help grow the deer, but you're also really good at killing the deer. So I know they kill some too, just the way it goes, but whew, I can only imagine.
Or when the neighbor finds out that his neighbor allowed Mark Drury to come in and turkey hunt in the spring. Oh boy. So stuff's going to die.
Paul actually allows us to turkey hunt. So
oh, wow.
He's a super, super nice guy.
That's a good neighbor.
We get along with him really, really well. So, and we trade pictures back and forth, and talk about ages, and, we all try to do the best thing we can by the herd.
This segment of 100% Wild is brought to you by Leupold. Check out all the best optics over at leupold.com. I'm just curious, and maybe you haven't. We just launched it, so you may not have messed with it at all. But did you utilize DeerCast Past at all to kind of look at some of the weather variables from last year, or as you played your hand on this deer, did you go back? I know you look back at the pictures to formulate your plan, but was there any of that calculation happening with the new feature?
I didn't necessarily use DeerCast Past because. Not on this deer. I did on coon dog specifically. We did a piece about it. But on this guy, I knew in my heart where I was going to kill him, if I was going to kill him. Because when I had daylight pictures, it was always on that plot right there by the house. And that's where we killed him. I mean, I literally parked. Wade came out the door. We walked across the yard and got in the blind. And I mean, I'm not lying. We walked maybe 150 yards and killed that deer.
I'm so jealous, not of the deer, of the commute to your stand.
Yeah. But of note, something we learned about that particular field, because it is in earshot and visible shot to the house, we started planting a fairly large vegetative screen between the house activity and where the field is, the actual green field that we killed him in. So we had a decent sized cornfield from north to south, probably 200 yards long and probably 50 yards wide, that separated the activity from the house and the actual green field.
Okay. What was the Wi-Fi service like in the blind?
Exactly, right? Yeah, you think, well, here's this guy living under, because this is where I lived for, I don't know, 10 years. Here he is living under my nose, and we couldn't get him killed. We hunted him. Taylor hunted him. I hunted him. Perry hunted him. Morgan Wallen hunted him. Wade hunted him. Luke Combs hunted him. And he just would not walk out for us. We couldn't get him killed for anything. Last 3 years, we've been trying to kill him. 4 years. Heck, Perry and I in 22 were trying to kill him that morning. But we just couldn't do it. So finally got it done. So it sounds like, oh, well, yeah, they waltzed out to the blind and shot him. But we waltzed to that blind many, many, many times.
Yeah. Here's what happened. Word got out with the deer population that you moved. They started getting a little cocky. They didn't realize you had some sort of agreement there with Wade. You still own the hunting land, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Would have been funny had you would have had to ask Wade to come over and hunt. Do you mind if I?
A few different times through the last 20 years specifically, we've hunted some really older deer, call it 7.5 and older. And boy, they really do get to be slaves to their stomach, particularly in the late season. Mm-hmm. They really do start daylighting, their guard drops. And, there's cat ears and dog ears. And I really wish someone would come up with an equation for white-tailed deer. But my suspicion is that by the time they're 5.5, they're already equivalent to someone that's in their 60s or 70s. So who knows what the equivalence is, when a deer's 9.5 or 10.5 years old. It has to be just ancient in terms of what we're used to in human years.
Yeah.
So
what were his hoofs like? Pretty worn down?
No, they were in decent shape.
That's crazy to me.
I specifically looked at them. They were in decent shape. And he had some scratches on his cape and whatnot, but he had a beautiful double throat patch and just a really light color to him. Overall, he was a very pretty deer. So,
did you end up weighing him?
We did not.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Was he big bodied?
Yeah, he was a pretty big bodied deer. If I had to guess, he'd probably field dressed certainly over 200, maybe 225. I mean, he was a big deer.
Wow.
Golly.
So not to switch gears totally here, but as I alluded to, you guys have had a lot of early season success up there. Obviously preparation is key for you guys always. You're the masters of, food plots near bedding, get access into your spots, like all that stuff's pretty dialed in. Is that the major contributing factors, the preparation to be so successful early on? Because I know probably from an outsider's perspective looking in, it's like, geez, these guys are whacking and stacking them and it's 70, 85, degrees. And, it really hadn't been cold at all. Even the cold front was average temperatures, average for the time of year, or maybe just above average in some cases.
For sure. And much of where we hunt has been dark, but we do have those few exceptions. And through time, through trail pictures and through hunting, which spots they might still daylight, even though it's hot. Two of those really nice deer in Missouri both came out of the same stand. Taylor and I both killed out of a bottom plot that has always been a great producer, and it's got to be 10 or 15 degrees cooler down there. It's just shaded, and there's a creek bottom right there. And for whatever reason, they were daylighting there, pretty well, even through the hottest of hot times there, where we were in the mid to upper 80s. So we got 2 there. Coon Dogs was in a bottom field as well, also cooler down there. So we kind of know where to sit and where not to sit, and we just focused our efforts on those cooler spots and where they were daylighting. Of course, then the weather front hit, and we went back to back 3 nights in a row with really good deer. Wade's deer was exceptional down there in Missouri, and we put that plot in specifically for that deer. That deer killed himself last year by giving us all the intel that he gave us in terms of where he bedded. That was a brand new farm. We made some guesses on food plots, and then we tweaked those guesses this year, and we had a really high confidence level we were going to kill that deer we called Hobo, and first time in we did. So history plus, just playing the temperatures right, and we ended up putting ourselves in good spots. Mom's deer was in a bottom as well. Most of these deer were killed in bottoms. My Iowa buck was a ridge, and Wade's Missouri buck was a ridge, but those were both in and around that major front.
Yeah. Yeah. And the front, actually, I felt like, it was short. It was maybe 3 days of actually
3 days.
Pretty much cool temperatures, but all 3 days, and we're on the backside of the full moon, they were still pretty good. I mean, like, I was surprised. You guys talk about it in 13 a lot, that weather trumps moon. And I felt like that was one of those instances, because I got pictures of one of my shooters the night you killed, and he was daylighting. Like you said, he came out like 6:20. I couldn't believe it. He never moves. He's always moving right at dark. And he moved super early that night, and I couldn't hunt. But I thought, man, it's a case where, because the moon was rising so late in the afternoon, if it wouldn't have been for the cold temperatures, I don't think I would have seen any movement in daylight. You know what I mean? Is that kind of as you look back at that 3-day period, is that your assessment?
No doubt. Plus, we were in and around that full moon, which we love, early October, so you got a great moon, great weather, and a great phase all lined up. I always talk about that slot machine. Well, we hit a jackpot there with that early October cold front, especially following just miserably hot weather. Ugh. Just terrible. Yeah. Everything was moving. So we expanded how many crews we were running. We were running 3 instead of 1 or 2. And that helps us, to hit more spots. Each night that we killed a buck, there were 3 crews running, but we only killed 1 out of the 3 each of the 3 nights that we killed 3 in a row.
So it's odds too. It's your odds.
So then you got the numbers game along with, all the things lining up. Then you try to put the numbers in your favor by running more crews.
And the night that you killed, what you believe to be a 9.5-year-old deer. Terry saw his shooter was 6.5-year-old and moved fairly early. One of my shooters moved. He's 6.5 years old. So you just think about big, mature whitetails up on their feet with plenty of daylight. That's pretty crazy what the weather did.
It really is. It's a weather game. And now we get into a tougher time of the month here in the middle part of October, and they're calling for somewhere in the 80s here within a day or two for us. Now we've got a cool day today and tomorrow, so we're gonna get after it in Iowa. I'm gonna film Wade tonight and then tomorrow night. So we'll see what happens. But we're getting right back into the warm front again. So hopefully by late October things straighten out. But I have my doubts.
And what's making you doubt that, Mark?
The pattern we've been in for the last 3 years. It's like we've been literally 10 to 15 degrees above normal, and the cold fronts take you to normal. I mean, that pattern's been pretty consistent for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, the DeerCast forecast is pretty depressing over the next 5 or 6 days here. Yeah, there's a little cool front hit next week.
It's amazing, and I've had people talk to me about how pessimistic DeerCast is, and I'm like, we're not pulling the plugs. It's the algorithm. And how has your sits been when it tells you slow? Well, they've not been very good. Well, we're trying to help you out and let you know it may not be good, but boy, when it is good, green all the way. And we watched that front coming for 2 weeks. and we couldn't wait for it to get here. We had our plans in place. We were watching the weather and the winds, and man, the winds were accurately predicted for that front, man. They were spot on when they got here, and we knew where we were going to sit. So our plans were in place because of deer cast. We stayed out of those good spots till that front hit, and then went in there and killed.
Yeah. And here we are in the October lull.
Yeah, but the way I look at it, honestly, yes, we're in the, and maybe I look at it a little differently because I actually have something tagged for this for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
But you think about going into the end of October, and yes, it's warm. You know, if you look at the 14-day, it's warm for the most part. There's a few little drops here and there, but I'm optimistic that it's going to make the end of October even better, or early in November even better, because we're going into a full moon. I don't know if it's the 6th or 7th or probably the 6th. I don't know what the date is in November, but it's going to be right around there. Like, it could line up to be phenomenal if you get even like what Mark's saying, if it goes back to an average from the warm above average temperatures, that could be dynamite for that time of year. So I don't know. I'm trying to look glass half full on that end of October, and this period kind of tends to suck anyways, unless there's a major cold front or the moon's right.
Yeah, you definitely need a weather front during this period. So I think it could be a little slow here for a week or two, or at least late coming out or late getting back to bed. You watch your trail pictures, and each and every night you see that, that shooter out there at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or 11 p.m. whatever, and then you're just waiting for a front. So I think it'll still be good because the period's always good. It will be better if it's at normal or below temperatures with decently high pressure. So we just hope that by the time that gets here, it's a little bit cooler.
That was the other thing about the cold front that came in. The pressure was extremely high for the time of year. I felt like I was getting some 30.27s and like
extremely. Yeah.
That helps tremendously.
Yeah,
it does. Helps a bunch.
So how was Grandma Lucy's hunt? I know everybody loves to see that update every year, whether it's from your camp or from Terry's camp, and see Grandma sitting behind a big old buck, and here she is, 92, and still, able to get out there and get after it. So maybe take us through that hunt a little bit.
Absolutely. It was great, and we just built a new home, so it was a pleasure to get Mom up here. She stayed with us for 10 days, Taylor and Mabry in, so she loved getting that one-on-one time with them. And she's just as sharp as she's ever been. She was physically able to get up the blinds. She climbed up that hawk blind really quickly, I'd say in under a minute and a half. So it was just great watching her. Even the off days where we weren't hunting with her, she would walk the steps from upstairs to downstairs just to keep her legs in shape. And she does a lot of physical therapy there at Merrimack Bluffs, which is where she lives. So she was just fantastic. And answer your question, and as sharp as she's ever been with a deer in front of her, man, this deer, he caught us in the blind because the wind was not perfect. And I think he caught a little scent of us, either that or heard the window. I think we had a little clink there, and he turned back to leave, and she followed him to the right and then followed him to the left. He stopped one last time. And I mean, he was leaning to get gone, and she smoked him. So
perfect shot.
She was just on her game. I was really, really proud of her and impressed. And I've never seen her get so shook up as she did this year, though. She started shaking from the moment the arrow hit, and then throughout the recovery, and then back at the house, even that night at 9-10 o'clock, her whole body was still shaking. She really had an adrenaline effect that wouldn't go away. I was a little worried about her, frankly, but she woke up the next morning and she was better, but that adrenaline lasted a long time in her 92-year-old beautiful body.
Wow, that's interesting.
I would love to go back to Merrimack Bluffs and listen to her recount the story to all of her fellow residents.
It's pretty neat. Like I actually attended a thing last year where she had pictures. My mom and Aunt Linda, Mark and Terry's sister, were there, and I went to just film some of the content just for the family. Mm-hmm. And she gave basically a little presentation on hunting to some of the other people there. And it was pretty awesome. They were in awe of it. They were like floored by, because quite a few of them were quite a bit younger, like in maybe their 70s or whatever. And and 80s. And here she is at the time, 90. Well, she would have been 91 when she gave the presentation, and they were just blown away by it. It is pretty inspiring.
It's inspiring. I mean, I can't imagine the terrier I'll be doing it at 92. Hell, we won't be here,
Terry's lived a rough life. I don't know that he'll make it to 92. I think construction days might catch up to him.
It's inspiring and amazing all in one. It's phenomenal what she's done.
Now, is she's still going to go up to Terry's for the firearm season then?
She'd like to. I don't know that Terry and her have talked about it yet. My assumption is yes.
Yeah.
But I haven't had that conversation with Terry, but she definitely wants to, certainly.
Yeah. Yeah. He mentioned it the other day. So awesome. Well, hopefully we'll have another update.
And it's possible he mentioned it to her and she forgot, Matt. So.
Or she mentioned it to him and he forgot.
Right.
That's probably more possible.
Yeah, exactly. So
awesome. Well, we should real quickly, by the time this airs, I think Taylor's post will go out. She killed an absolute beautiful, cool deer the other night. That'd have been the night 3 of the front, right?
Oh,
yeah, the third and final.
I'd have to put that together. I thought she killed after me, didn't she? I thought hers was post hunt.
Yeah. Yours would have been like day 2 of the front. Hers would have been day 4. So that'd been after the front, really.
Yeah, Wade killed that first night. I gotta look through my pictures here. It was Wade, then Mom, then me.
And then me, and then Taylor.
Yes.
Yeah, so 5 days in a row.
Yeah, essentially. Yep.
Yeah. There's no room for compromise in your hunting knife. That's why Cold Steel has built a reputation for crafting the toughest, most reliable blades on the planet. From the versatile click and cut to the innovative hunting kit, every Cold Steel knife is a tool that you can trust. Strong, durable, ready for anything. Get yours today at coldsteel.com and experience the difference for yourself. The rack on that deer was really unique, I felt like.
Oh, Taylor's? Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy unique. Yeah, he had interestingly enough, you would think, well, that's a wacky side, right? It looks different than the beautiful typical 5x side. But in reality, there was only a few inches difference in total measurement from one side to the other. I think it was like a 71-inch side and a 68.5-inch side. They weren't that far apart. So the total gross score was just shy of 160. I think it was like 159 and a few eighths. But a beautiful big Missouri buck, a deer that we nicknamed Nutrient during the summer because I kept catching him on this bean field of a new variety of Nutrient beans, which, by the way, I love. They are just absolutely smoking them on all fields that we have them planted. Man, they're good.
Interesting. Well, so on that hunt specifically, was there that you said it's the same field you killed your Missouri deer in? I know when you killed yours, it walked a shooter off. You said it walked your shooter off. That wasn't the same deer it walked off, was it? The one you killed?
It is.
Oh, it is.
Yep, that's the deer they walked off.
She's probably pretty happy it walked. Walked off then.
It was so interesting because they walked him all the way down the field and walked him out of the far southeast corner of the field. Okay, so then he comes in, I shoot and get him, and I never saw that deer again on camera from when I killed mine until the night she killed it, and he walked out of that southeast corner. It was as if they walked him in there and he was just now coming back. It was pretty amazing when he popped out. I was like, oh, there he is.
Funny.
So,
nice.
Yeah.
She was shooting the 2-inch, that NAP Killzone RX. What type of poundage is she pulling on her Matthews?
He shot about 47 pounds.
Because it was a good shot. And did she got a full pass through, didn't she?
It didn't stick in the dirt on the other side, but there was about that much arrow out of either side of the animal. So passed through the animal, but did not go into the dirt.
Gotcha.
As soon as he ran, it broke in two, and then it came out.
Yeah. Great shot. Awesome video too.
Yeah, just where you want to hit him. Certainly, I think he was about 18 or 19 yards, and it had been. She did not kill a deer last year with her bow or the previous fall because that was the year she had Mabry. Of course, last year with her bow, we tried for 31 days, but we added up. I think this was what did she come up with? Like 36 or 37 total sits without killing a deer with a bow until that one.
Tim and I are like, yeah, sounds like a typical fall.
Hold my beer.
I would cry if I added up the days. Yeah. It'd be pretty shameful for the amount of time.
That sounds like a vacation. Dang.
Yeah, but that's awesome, man. You guys are on a roll. Well,
it's an elongated period as well because, maybe adds a whole new layer because Austin's guiding, so he's not here, and finding care for her and availability to go out and film. As you guys know, it's a very time-consuming process, and it's hard for her to be away from Mabry that much. So it was just a blessing to see that big guy walk out, and certainly a do factor there for her to get a shot at that distance.
For sure, a relief, I'm sure.
That's what family
a relief, and
photos are
she
for.
was just overwhelmed with joy. It was really a fun night.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, we have, it looks like we got a little weather trivia that we'd like to run by you. If you're game, then we'll wrap this up so you can go catch up with Wade and go hunting. Yeah,
I'm going to film Wade tonight. We're excited. We're actually going back to where Will, our catch dream hunter, killed. So we're gonna see if we can see a couple of big bucks in that area.
Awesome. Sweet. All right. Well, let's get into it. Tim.
The U.S. has just entered into a La Niña weather system. Historically speaking, what have La Niña winters brought? Is it A, cooler temperatures across the north and milder temperatures across the south with drier conditions in southern regions and wetter in the north?
That was very detailed.
Or B, flashbacks to Chris Farley's El Nino sketch on Saturday Night Live? Or C, nationwide drought? Or D, excessive snow and ice?
It's either A or D because it varies from year to year. From La Niña to La Niña. Some years it creates more snow and rain. Other years it creates a little bit drier conditions. So that's a tough one to answer.
Would have accepted that answer if you would have started with, well, actually.
Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to go with D. It's probably A because it was so well detailed out.
Well, and that is a test-taking strategy. To all you kids out there listening to the show that are still in school, typically, if you don't know the answer, it's a multiple choice. The longest option is the right one. In this case, that's true. A, cooler temperatures, milder temps across the south, drier conditions, da-da-da, ba-ba-ba, do-do-do.
For some reason, my critical thinking skills, I knew that. I said that. Yet I went against my gut and I picked a different answer.
The other test-taking strategy is to go with your gut.
Yeah, well, I didn't.
So
that's my point.
We're helping out the
D
kids.
can also be true in a La Niña.
Well, the reason why I went with it is because the Farmer's Almanac saying that it's going to be a harsh winter this year.
Anyone check the persimmon seeds?
No, I haven't. Have you? You pop those suckers open and eat them like grapes.
You don't eat the seeds.
Well, you eat them. Yeah. Persimmons.
Mark, you ever look at persimmon seeds? You know, that old...
I have, and I saw a post about it the other day about how to read it. I think Cuz had cut one open, but I didn't dig into it. And I don't know. I haven't paid attention.
It has something to do with if the seeds are shaped like a spoon, it's going to be a year with heavy, wet snow. Yeah. If it's shaped like a fork, then you might get a little drier or fluffier snow. I think you're right. And you got the furry, fuzzy caterpillar thing as well. If you're seeing it, and I've been seeing a ton of those this fall. So they say
bunch of fuzzy caterpillars.
Yeah. They say that that's indicative of a tough winter ahead. Yep.
Well, there's a bunch of them, more than ever.
If you see 4 horsemen riding in the sky, we're Jesus is coming.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Just a heads up.
We're all in trouble.
We got a new Rack Pack member. Jerry Moore is joining the club. So
Jerry,
welcome to the Rack Pack.
Shout out to Jerry. All right. Yeah. So shout outs in general. If you can take a little time, head to your platform that you view or listen to the podcast and subscribe, share, let people know about it. We appreciate it. And it helps us out. We're getting into that time of year where a lot of people tune in, and we appreciate every single one of you.
Most of you.
Mm-hmm. So, anybody named Chris?
I hate Chris's.
Actually, I got a problem with Doug's.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Well, Mark, have a great hunt tonight with Wade. Hopefully you guys see another slammer. Keep the train rolling.
We're going to try. We have 2 tags left. My Iowa, second archery Iowa, and then Wade's Iowa archery. So we're going to enjoy the ride and see what happens here. We don't have a very high expectation because of the time of the year we're into, but we did have a 10-degree temperature drop from yesterday to today. So we'll see what happens, but we're really looking forward there to late October.
Last question. Theoretically, if you do fill those tags, do you guys then head to Texas, or what's the plan until Missouri firearm opens up?
I traded texts with Wade Montgomery about that option the other day, and they're fairly they have quite a few people coming in November, or in early November. So I don't know what we do. I mean, we might we'll figure something out.
Time off? No way.
No, we wouldn't have time off. No, we'll find some hot does to shoot or something.
There you go. All right. Well, we appreciate you jumping on. Good luck tonight. Safe hunting. And as always, just thank you. The amount of knowledge and time you give us, we're always appreciative. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you guys, and best of luck out there. Congratulations on your deer, Matt. And earlier you mentioned a deer that was in front of your stand. That was the same one you killed, correct?
Yeah. So the night before I shot him, and we'll jump into it in the next podcast. He was daylight walking around 20 minutes on my food plot everywhere you could imagine and every angle you could imagine. And I was at Cameron's final baseball game for the fall season. So, Cameron was giving me hope that he's such an empathetic kid. I felt bad because I couldn't help.
Where does that come from?
I think me, honestly. I'm not going to say my wife.
Mr. Empathy.
He was just like, man, I'm sorry you didn't go hunt. I'm like, hey, I made a promise when we had you that I'm not going to miss these things. And I don't care about the deer. He'll be there. He's like, I think you're going to have a chance tomorrow.
Sweet
and
kid.
In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way.
Yeah, right, kid.
These deer do not move like that. But hey, he had it. He called it. So it was neat. It was a very cool moment.
You're raising him different than Terry raised you, Matt.
Correct. That's the promise I made. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, I mean, look how you turned out. Yep.
Had Terry gone to the game and his shooter walked, he would have showed you the picture and said, and this is how you played?
I stayed home for this.
Listen, I'm not mad, but
how you played tonight?
You suck. Hold on, I have it.
Silver spoon.
That's exactly what I would have heard.
You suck, Matt.
But hey, I'm here. You happy?
Yeah, we got it. But anyways, thank you. It turned out great.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, Mark. See you later.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Peace out.
DeerCast movement prediction and mapping tools combined with our exclusive virtual rain gauges gets you ahead of your game.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by DeerCast Maps, waypoints, weather, virtual rain gauges, and more. Every tool you need to get ahead of your game.